This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So a couple of key things that we're going to talk about before we get into Moziak itself is the software itself, the help tab. There's a ton of information in here, your online help, your training videos. Now, one of the things is since you have CNC complete, once you've made the purchase of your CNC, have you already selected a make and model and what you're doing with that yet?
Uh, yeah, it's the SC Rover, I think.
Okay. So
Um,
one of the things is since you're sales guy, one of the things is ordering your post processor if you haven't done that yet. So right from the help tab, we get into the help desk here. And what you want to do is you want to, because I don't know what your timeline on your machine is, but the post processor is going to take a couple of weeks because Mosaic custom makes them for each, because all machines are configured differently, and we do post processors for over 100 manufacturers. So
right.
what you want to do is get this filled out, and tech support from Biasi, they should be able to help you, because what we need to know is the type of controller you're running, and then all this information down here. And if it has a drill block, if it has a drill block, include a diagram. So that's your multi-drill head, and then submit it into Mosaic. Okay, real important. Okay, that way,
Okay.
because what you're going to get is you're going to get another hour of training with one of our CNC techs. They're going to do another hour of training with you to set up make sure your post processor is working properly and get you to set up tooling and things, because that's beyond the scope of this training today. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I signed up for the complete the CNC because I know I'm getting it here in the next 2 months.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's the smart move. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So yeah, when like I said, you can get a hold of Yossi and just let them know, or call your sales rep and say, hey, I got to fill out this post processor request. They'll be able to help.
Yeah, they will. They'll have it.
Perfect. Okay. So, and then the second thing I want to talk about is in your help tab, you've got a couple of things here. Is your about. Your about, what this is your account. And a couple of things here. Um, Now your authorization code, since Mosaic is subscription based, if you're paying month to month, you're gonna get an email every month, because this code has a 30-day timer on it. So it'll become invalid after 30 days. So all you have to do is keep an eye out for those emails. They usually show up about a week before. It's an automated system. And all you do is copy and then paste it into here. And if it
Okay.
does, if it does expire, you're going to get a red X right here, and Mosaic will not open until you put a correct authorization code in
Right.
there. Okay. All right. Now, the other thing about this is we are all of your software updates are included. Okay, it's an all-inclusive software. So currently we're on 9.0 or 10.08. So we've got a brand new version out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to update your software. So in here, where we're going to go for that is in the forum. Okay, and you've already been in here. Perfect. So you're logged in. Perfect. So we've got a lot of different categories in here, but I'm going to focus on our software updates right here. Okay. And if you can see
Okay.
the current version, if you hover over here, you can see we're on 10.08, and then we've got another one coming out 10.1 sometime. But what's important about this is you can see they're all formatted the same way, version 9, version 10. So what we have is these are the minor corrections that were made after 10 was released, and then all the new features that are available. Okay, so what we're going to do is you can see I'm going to scroll to the very bottom of the page, because down here, this is the only place you're going to find a link to update your software. Okay, and you can subscribe to this, and also version 10.1. You should receive an email if there's anything new. And it's just like any other software. We'll click on it, and all it is, and we'll drop that. Do you want to put it in here with this one?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So that's all that is. We'll let that cook in the background. Okay. And I'll leave this open for you, because again, I always tell people, go through the previous versions, just check them out, because there's good information in there. You'll find things that you didn't know Mosaic was capable of doing. So I do recommend it, but I do recommend going through these and just checking out read some of the documentation in here. Okay?
Well, I know when they said there was something that said start here as far as videos or something, it was on version 6 or something.
Yeah, well, Moziak switched gears, and I'll show you what we do now. Because the videos are they're dated and they're not really helpful. So Moziak switched gears, and what we got is we have help documents all throughout Moziak. So I'm going to show you how that works, and it works out a whole lot better. Okay, so I'm going to start a new job here. And what I'm going to do is this will be, okay, all right. Now, the way Moziak is structured, it's very well organized. And so you've got all your main stuff up top here. But when we're dealing with a job, these tabs right here, this is what you're setting the pace for your job at. So if you just work from left to right, it works fantastic. So customer information, and then you get into your settings tab. And we're okay with that. We're going to take care of that here in a minute. Okay. So what we have here, and if it's okay, I'm going to adjust because I can't see the bottom here where my hinges are. So I'm going to adjust your view if that's okay. I got to shrink it up so I can
Sure.
see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to your desktop, right mouse click, and take a look at your settings tab, your display. Hopefully we can get in here. Oh, you got 2 displays. Okay. So what I need you to do is take a look at your resolution. Is your resolution set at like 150?
Is that in my settings?
Are you running 2 monitors?
2 monitors, but one's off. I'm only running
Okay.
one.
Yeah, you need to turn it because it's pulling up display too. Turn on your other monitor to see if this window would have popped up in that other one.
Display, rearrange the display. Select, change the settings, press and hold.
Well, yeah, what I'm looking for is your resolution. It might be at 150. If you set it at 125, we'll be able to see everything. Was that on the other monitor?
Yes, it's on the other monitor now.
Okay. Okay. Can you drag it over to this one so I can take a look at it?
Well, there we go.
Thank you, sir. All right, let me take a peek in here and see what we have. Display. Okay, and what I'm looking for is right down here, scale and layout. Okay, so I'm going to set it to 125. Okay. What that's going to do for me? Nope, it's got to be on the other. It's got to be on the other screen. Okay, let's try 100. So check that. Okay, so it's not on this screen. You're going to have to change the resolution on this other screen, which is fine. What you want to do is, and we're being recorded, is start with set it at like 125, okay, on the other screen. But let's see if,
What about, it says multiple displays, it says extend, can I just turn the other one off?
well, it's
Go
going
only
to,
on one?
well, whatever monitor you want to do this training on, yeah, because then you're just dragging stuff over for me. I really don't.
I really only wanted on the one, I think one is the one you're looking at now.
Okay, let's test this.
Keep change.
Okay.
Actually, my other monitor's not really working. It's actually a TV, and it's got some problems. I'm hardly using it.
Okay. So you can see that this stuff kicked off. So you're going to have to get that sorted out because it turned this one off. So if I go back to extend these displays, well, you can see it turns this stuff back on. So I don't know what you got going on there. So, but one of the reason I point that out is because when you get back into Moziak, you can see that I've got I've got a drop down menu down here also. So, and it's not showing. So that's going to be important. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Okay. It's not the end of the world. Okay. All right. So from here, what we have here is in our settings tab is, to me, this is the most important tab in all of Moziak because this is where we're going to set the precedence for style, hardware, materials, construction method. And if you think about what a room is nothing more than a configuration of cabinets. Base, wall, and tall, doors, drawers, and openings. That's all it is. So, whatever the room configuration is, I really don't care because all it is a design. The settings tab, this is where the rubber meets the road, okay? And this is actually 3D live. So this is where we can turn around and start building out what we want to do. Now, the cool thing about this is what you have an accumulation of information here that you can actually set up multiple room templates, as many templates as you want. So you said you do commercial work, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got a commercial template here that all I'm going to do is I'm going to apply it. Okay, so you can see all of the parameters, all of these things change based on whatever you save in the template. You can have as many as you want, and you can literally, when you start a job, the idea behind these is to save them. Your most common work, you can actually come in here and create as many of these as you want. That's the cool thing about it. So we're going to go through this. So I'm going to apply this template to this job. Okay. Now, the reason we were talking about videos and things, one of the things is Moziak is converted over, and this little blue question mark, okay? What this is when you click on this, what we have is help documents. And if you look at, we're on the settings tab right here, okay? There's literally 6 pages on how to run this thing. So this is where Moziak is, and we do have a video right here. So I don't know, a lot of these are old vintage things, but the documentation is easier for Moziak to update instead of videos. So that's the cool thing about this, okay? So you can see, and I'm going to open up a bunch of these because there's a lot of them that I deem that are really important, okay? All right, so that's where Moziak's going versus videos, okay?
Okay.
Because we have over 100, I think we have like almost 200 documents all throughout Moziak. So no matter where you're at, yeah, absolutely. Okay. So here we go. We start out and we're going to build a template in our settings tab. And this is where we can select our door style. We can select our handles and we can select our hinges. And if you want to change doors, all you do is click on the door image and you can set up your own doors, anything you want. Now, one of the things talking about doors, what I'd like to share is when we get into our libraries, all of these libraries, all of these things, check this out. In our doors, and what we have here, since I pull this down, this question mark right here, the door library, there's literally 15 pages in here. There's literally 15 pages of information.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really powerful. So you'll find it very, very handy. They're all over the place. So that's what I wanted to show you because no matter where you're at in Moziak libraries, you get into hardware. Now, the hardware one's a little bit different because when you look at your drawer guides, and if you hover over that button, the last words on there, guides, hinges, they all have their own. So that's what's really important about this is now you can see every single one of these tabs has its own help documents, okay? Really cool. So yeah, Moziak's worked really hard to make it as self-explanatory as possible with those help documents, and they are tremendous, okay? All right, so this is door selection, and then this is drawer box. Now, what the drawer box is, this is the construction method. So are you planning on making your drawers, or do you make them, or do you buy them out, or what do you do?
Well, I just switched to grass Z boxes, which is the
Okay,
metal door. The
kind
grass
of like that one.
Z box. Yep.
Okay. Now let me check something out here. Grass Z box and grass Z box. So by setting that up, and we probably have to make one for if you do rollouts behind doors. But so when we look at that grass Z box in our libraries, when we go into our drawer boxes, we can see the construction method. Okay. And there you go. So you can see that it's all Moziak already put this in here for you, and it's already been structured. Let me see if I can get a better peek at this. See if I can grab that corner. It's not letting me do anything. Okay. So yeah, so in the Z box, you can see it's been pre-drilled. It's got a plant on bottom, and it's got a plant on, so it's producing those parts for you. Yeah. Okay. And again, there's your question mark. Huge. Okay. Okay. So there you go. So we're just selecting. We got the grass Z box. Again, making a new one for now. You don't ever, when commercial work, you don't ever put like trays behind doors, do you?
The what?
It's like a
Tray?
tray. Yeah, like if you open up the door and there's trays in there. You don't ever do that.
Oh, very seldom.
Yeah.
Very
So
seldom.
you
I
can
mean
make,
that.
yeah. So we can actually, and it would have to be adjusted because in the drawer boxes, what we can do is take this grass Z box, okay, and we can make a copy of it, okay, and we can say this is a tray, okay. Now what you can do is can be now a rollout tray. And so whatever height you want to set, grass, non-dovetail case only, change size of back. Okay. Yeah. So just by doing that, we created a brand new piece here. Click OK. And there you go. It's that quick.
Right.
All right. Now your back and end panels, these are for, if you're going to do applied ends. If you're going to do applied ends, you can do either applied ends or panelized ends, which are you're actually using a door as an actual side of a cabinet. The only time I see that is in face frame cabinets, guys, that old schoolers that use the actual like shaker door as the actual side of the cabinet. So yeah. Now when it comes to your materials, the way Moziak is structured is in our libraries, what we have is materials and material templates. And basically we add materials and then we create material templates telling Moziak what's made out of what. And we make templates for doors, drawers, cabinet parts, countertops, and even edge banding, okay? So in our libraries, what we have is materials. And we've got a lot of generic stuff in here. Really important, we're gonna cover this. So what we have is we have a lot of generic stuff in here. And again, you have a question mark at the top, but what we have is we have panel stock, we've got solid lumbers, we have edge bandings, and then we have countertops. And I'm going to turn that off. Okay. So in the panel stock for your CNC, again, everything's movable in Moziak. So there's a lot of generic stuff in here if you want to change the name, if you want to change the color, sizing, whatever you want to do. But so what I want to do is show you how to introduce a new item. So again, if you're going to use these, but for example, I don't have a 1/4 inch MDF here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the very bottom, and in the red X right here, this is where I can introduce something new, and I'm going to walk you through this, okay? So I'm going to throw in a 1/4 inch MDF, And now I begin the process. So I'm going to size it out, 49.97. Now, one of the things about thicknesses, very important, your CNC will cut to the thousandths of inches. Moziak is also written to the tenth of a millimeter. So you want to dial these in when you get your CNC, just get in the habit of, when your material comes in, throw a set of digital calipers on there, dial it in. I work in decimals, you can work in fractions, however, and you can switch here on the fly down at the bottom. So if you wanted to take a look at what these are dimensionally, you can see that so if you want to do it in metric, your dimensions, absolutely, but it's real critical, okay? All right, so what we have here is a sheet cost. And then you also have, if you're going to use Moziak for pricing, you can do markups, you can do a percentage or a fixed cost add-on. And then your waste percentages for purchasing. Some things are more wasteful than others. Then what you have is if it has a grain pattern, so plywoods, textured melamines, laminates, things like that, if it has a grain pattern. Then also if it is a two-sided item, so a lot of times in commercial, I used to do a lot of commercial where I'd put a laminate, like let's say for example, a blue laminate on one side and then a white liner on the back side because I was doing white melamine. So, if it was a one-sided or two-sided item. Yeah. Now your trims, what these are is when you run them to the optimizer, it's just going to cut off the factory edge. That's all this is. So when you nest your parts, it's just going to cut off the nasty factory edge. Okay? And then we also want to nest it. Now, if you hover over the names up here, if you just hover, you can see send it to the optimizer. Speed percentage is relative cutting speed. Okay, and then you have your comments. So now when we talk about that, we want this part, we want to run this material to the CNC. And then what you have here, which is really cool, is with a CNC, you can control your feed speeds. So you can set up to a minimum and maximum feed speed and then control different materials. So items that are more difficult to cut, you can actually slow your machine down just for a certain material. Absolutely.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it works really well. Okay. So now what we can do is the red X, we can now come in here and pick a color. And now the cool thing about this is you can add any color you want here. These are just little simple JPEGs. So in this folder, you can add anything you want. So if you're doing laminate work, I used to do this a lot. I just get on the website, whether it's Wilson Art, Pionite, Nevermar, and I would actually just copy a little image of that, put that in here for my 3D renderings. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up here and do a search in my top box up here, MDF. Double click on it. There's your brand new material, highlighted on the far left. And now we can organize it with the black arrows in the top left corner, and we can put it with the rest of our materials. Okay. And there you go. So now when it comes to edge banding, this is important because your edge banding, Moziak has the ability. Now the edge band, you have an edge bander?
Yes.
Now, does it have pre-mill routers on it to remove your thickness of your banding?
I have two of them, and I have a new one that I have that's not even set up yet, and it does have a what do they call it, pre-cutter, or
Yeah, pre-milled. Yeah, it removes the thickness of the banding, right?
Right.
Right. So you have two ways of doing this because depending on what machine you're running, because what Moziak will do, Moziak will remove, if you set up your banding in Moziak, Moziak will remove the thickness of the banding that you apply. So for example, if you were running, let's say a 1 millimeter edge tape, this door, when it goes to the optimizer, if you set up your edge banding, this door will be 2 millimeters undersized width and length. So that's important to know that if you set up your edge banding, a Moziak will size your parts for you if you need to. So if you're running pre-mill, all you do is set your thicknesses to 0. Okay.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really.
So, me cutting by hand or whatever, I know, okay, my door is a certain size. I have to allow for the edge band, and whatever edge band I'm using, I have to, cut my door smaller than that. So
exactly. Yeah, been there, done that, brother. Been there, done that. So yeah, before I got my CNCs, same thing. So, but the cool thing about this is you can predetermine. So if you're running, you know, and I always ran stuff in millimeters. I ran everything. So you can see like the thickness of this one right here. I always renamed, you know, I always put it in here, for example, 1 millimeter PVC because you're running half mils, 1 mils, whatever. Okay. Because there's there's three facets to edge banding. Okay. And we'll talk about it. So again, there's your question. Okay. So now that we have materials, this is where we get into creating material templates. Okay. To tell Moziak what's made out of what. And we do them for doors, drawers, cabinet ports, countertops, and even edge banding. And I'm going to talk about edge banding real quick here because there's three facets. One is creating the materials, and two, we create a material template. Okay, and the reason we can do up to 4 different edge bandings. Okay, so the discipline in my company was this, is because what we have is it's called edge banding assignments, telling Moziak where these 4 bandings go. Okay, so edge banding number 1 for me, the way I just kept it simple, was the cabinet body itself. The cabinet body was always position number 1 because these positions never change, and it'll make sense here in a second. Edge banding number 2, I always called out for my doors and my drawer fronts. Okay, so even if they were the same banding, a lot of times what I did was I did like a 1 millimeter edge tape for my doors and then did a half mil that was the same color just to cut costs. Okay. Now, edge banding 3, I always used for my drawer boxes. And then edge banding 4, where I used this, was the undersides of my unfinished ends. So if I had multiple wall cabinets, and let's say I had a black door on here, I would want a black edge tape, so that would be in position number 2. But then position number 4, I wanted to match the cabinet body. So it would be the material. So let's say I was putting a black door on a white melamine cabinet. I wanted white PVC down here. So I would have white, black, and white. So this would be position number 4, position number 1, and position number 4. So that was the way I structured it. Okay. So we're going to go and I'll show you where you go tell Moziak where we want that to happen. In our libraries, what we have is edge banding assignments. Okay. Now, in our edge banding assignments, we have a template here, and this is how this works. Is you can see the frameless. We're going to bring this into your construction method. Okay. So when we're looking at our base cabinets, and you can see it's broken down by base and wall. Okay. But the way this works is you can see your top, and what you see is a 1000 here. If you click on the numbers right here, okay, it brings up this. And this is so cool because what you have is edge banding 1, 2, 3, and 4. They never change. So I can actually come in here and highlight on the left and just click on where I want that edge banding to be applied. How cool is that? So I can tell Moziak if I'm running 4 different bandings, I can set up my parts this way. Okay. So you're going to have to go through here and clean this thing up. But all you're doing is telling Moziak, I want, you know, and again, like I was saying, the positions never changed. So this was always my cabinet body. These were my doors and my drawer fronts. This was my drawer box. And this was the undersides of my wall cabinets. The positions never change. So I'm going to open up this one here for you because this one is important. And you can see we've got a couple of pages explaining how this works. Okay. All right. So coming through here, and you can see all of the different components. There's all your cabinet parts. Then you get down into your doors, your drawer fronts, and then you have your drawer components. Okay. And the same thing with your wall cabinets. You can see everything's the same as base, except like I said, my unfinished ends was 1404. Okay. And that's all it is. Okay. So I've got that opened up. So those are the 3 facets. Okay. So material templates, we're going to go back in, and what we want to focus on is cabinet parts. Okay. Because this is going to correlate with your construction method. Now, when it comes to your cabinets, are you doing, when you do your cabinets, predominantly you're doing melamines, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And your construction method, are you doing a 1/4 inch back with nailers, a 1/2 inch back, 3/4 back? What do you do for your construction method?
Right now, we're doing a 1/4 inch back and then rails on the back side of that.
Okay, perfect. So you're using a 1/4 inch back with nailers. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this template right here and I'm going to make a new one because I want to designate. So we're going to say this is 3/4 millimeter. And I'm going to say it has a 1/4 inch back. Now, again, doing different colors and things like that, black, white, fog gray, folkestone gray, adding materials is really important. Just so you know, in my company, when I sold my company, I ran Moziak in my company for about 5 years before I sold it. And my material list was about 120 deep because every time we brought in a new material, because now, are you going to have do you run employees?
What?
Do you have employees?
Yeah, I have one. Gonna have
Okay.
probably one guy will probably be
Okay.
either me or one other guy running this
Okay,
machine.
perfect. Well, the big thing about that is, this is very generic. We're just saying it's 3/4 millimeter. We're not telling Moziak whether it's black, white, green, whatever, because again, the reason I point that out is I created all of my millimeters. I designated them by color, white, black, and I had material templates. That way it showed up on my paperwork. So there was no guessing what these parts were made out of because I made that mistake years ago. I did a job, optimized it out, and the paperwork just said 3/4 millimeter. One of the very first jobs I did, and I gave all the paperwork to my CNC operator and told him I had a delivery coming. And so I went and met with a customer, and I totally forgot I had 2 deliveries coming. And so he just grabbed the first delivery and started chopping on it. I came back to the shop and cut like 12 sheets of the wrong color. And it was my fault because all the paperwork said was millimeter. So,
Right.
so from that day forward, every time I brought in a new color, 3/4 black, 3/4 white, because you can mix and match. So I could come in here and create a material template and say, 3/4 black millimeter, 1/4 inch white back. So you can have as many of these as you want. That's the key to this. Okay. So this is where we tell Moziak what's made out of what. And you can see we have a melamine, and all we're doing is highlight the line, and we just tell them we've got all of our sheet stock here. You got your solid lumbers, and then you have your edge banding. So you can come in here and just tell Moziak, hey, I want my back to be 1/4 inch melamine. Okay. So we're just telling Moziak what we want made out of what. So we just kind of come in and match these things up. So, that way, I'm going to do 3/4 millimeter for that one. And then all your items. So, like if you're doing different toe skins, once you did a job, like if you're doing, different materials, all you're doing is telling Moziak what's made out of what. Okay.
All
All
right.
right. So for the job, what we can do is now we can select if we're going to do it. Let's say we're just going to do a melamine door. Now, your drawer boxes, what do you normally make those, the Z box? What normally is the material for that
Well, the Z box is metal. The sides are metal. It has a back piece that's 3/4 melamine,
one? Mm-hmm.
and then it's got a 1/2 inch melamine bottom.
Okay, so what we need to do is we need to create one because we need that back to be 3/4 melamine, but we need the bottom to be 1/2 inch, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's go into the libraries. We'll go into our material templates. And what we can do is in our drawer boxes, what we want to do is say new. And what we're going to do is this is going to be the grass Z box. Okay. Now we come in and I've got a brand new one here. So I'm just going to, because what we're looking for is the back. And I'm just actually going to match everything up for now. Just going to grab everything and say it's 3/4. Let's go in and we're going to say 3/4 millimeter because Moziak's only going to cut the parts that you request. Okay. So we want our back to be 3/4 and our bottom to be 1/2 inch, correct?
Right.
Same thing with a tray. So our tray back is 3/4 millimeter. And oops, sorry about that. Tray back is going to be 3/4 millimeter. And our tray bottom is going to be 1/2 inch. There we go. So we're just telling Moziak what we want. There you go. Now click OK. Now check this out. Veracity box. Cabinet, we want 3/4 millimeter with a 1/4 inch back. There you go. And then again, you can set up your edge banding. Again, this is just for training. So I know that this PVC banding, it's been put on everything. So it's going to be, it's not going to be correct based on our libraries of edge banding assignments, but just for training purposes, okay? And there you go. So there you go. We've told Moziak we want melamine doors. We want our door boxes made out of that. We want this and we want this. There you go. Now your textures, these are for 3D renderings. Moziak will pick up the color of the actual material and you can always change just clicking on these items. So, okay. And again, your floors and your countertops and appliances down here, you can change. Okay. Now, when it comes to your libraries, what we have here is your construction methods are library specific. So you can have as many construction methods as you want. And the cool thing about this is, especially in commercial, you get contractors that are very specific on how they, when you're dealing with architects and engineers and all the really smart people,
yeah.
They want holes here, but not there, and they want this type of construction method. These can be customer specific if you want. Got a friend of mine that lives in California, and he's got a company, and what he does is he remodels banks. He does Wells Fargo, Capital One, and then he builds out new Capital One, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America. Each one of these companies has their own construction method because they're very specific on how they want their stuff built. Yeah. So you can have as many as you want. And in my company, I used to have about 18 different construction methods because I used to do a cut service. So if you as a customer would come to me and say, hey, Ian, I want you to cut my cabinets, but I need them built a certain way. I would build you a construction method and just apply it to the job. So I took an order from you. I would set up my materials and then I would come in and pull down my construction method, your construction method, because you might want blind dados. Some people want butt joints. Some people want holes here, but not here. I really didn't care. All I did was I built them a construction method and applied it to the job. Because again, you can see how much time I'm spending in the settings tab. I've already been in here for 30 minutes because I don't care what's in the room. This is how important,
right.
That's how important this stuff is. So we're going to apply this construction method and we're going to manipulate it and then save it as how you construct, okay? So you have miscellaneous. When it comes to, are you doing angled pins or are you doing like just standard 5mm pins?
The 5mm pin right there.
All right, perfect. And then your spec sheet. Your spec sheet is just a laundry list, appliances, tubs, toilets, sinks, things like that. Okay. So you can see how much work goes into this thing. Okay. There's a lot of work in here in order to get it to work the way we want it to. So the cool thing about this is over here on the far right, these 3 bars right here, what you're able to do is all the work that I just did, I can save it now as a template. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to set it up as a sample. Okay. And you can have as many room templates as you want. So if you're doing doors, let's say you're doing doors with a specific laminate, your doors and your cabinet body are a specific laminate. You can add that laminate for your doors, if you bring it in pre-glued and stuff like that, and then create a template. That way, what happens is when you start a job, it just becomes a drop-down menu. All that work that you did on this one job, you can literally save it if it's, you're going to do it again and again. So that's the idea behind these templates. They're really powerful because what it allows you to do is just maybe, let's say just for training purposes, let's say painted MDF shaker. I apply that, I got a job, I apply this, everything's right. The only thing I need to change are my textures just for my 3D rendering. So I come in here and I change maybe 3 or 4 things and I'm off to the races. I'm done. All of this stuff has been done. So that's the idea behind these templates. Okay. There you go. That's all it is. Okay. All right. So one of the things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save my job. I'm gonna save my job here, and we've got version. I'm gonna close Moziak here real quick because what we have now is let's get back into. Where did it go? There you go. If you would, I'm gonna initiate it, but if you would, when it pops up, I'm gonna have you. There you go. So if you would, I'm gonna have you load version 10.02, 10.08 for me. Perfect. Just hit cancel. That's just because I have those documents. We'll probably see a couple of more of those. Just whenever those help documents are open, it'll give you a little guess. Just cancel again. And there you go. Hit finish for me. Perfect. And now we'll get back into. And when we open, you can see you're up to date. Okay, there you go. That quick. All right, so let's continue. All right, so we've got our settings figured out. We've got our template set up. We've got this ready to go. We're going to hit a room tab. Now, a couple of things I'm going to do first here is I'm going to correct something here real quick. Bear with me 1 second. There it is, right there. Okay. All right. So, and what I got into is this is what is your layers tab, and what it is how you want to look at things. It's just you have a bunch of different templates in here based on how you want things to look, and I just darkened up some things here. So, all right. So now that we're in a room tab, we have the ability to predetermine the heights and the depths of our cabinets before we even start drawing, and Moziak will automatically populate to those sizes. So do you have a standard base cabinet height that you run?
Usually 34.5 or 32.5.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, and that's the cool thing about this is if you predetermine it once you start populating Moziak. So for example, we're working in a office that has 9-foot ceilings, 108. Want to make all my wall cabinets 42. Moziak will make them for you that way. Now the soffit, all the soffit is the space between the top of the wall cabinet and the ceiling, so you can adjust the elevation of all your wall cabinets by using this. Okay, you can drive them up and down. All right. So now we have quick rooms. We have some configurations here, but I'm going to draw some walls. And drawing walls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to left mouse click and I'm going to start. One of the things you're going to see is on the right side of that wall, what you see is your countertop. That is the face of the wall. Okay. And it will follow suit. So if you're drawing right to left, left to right, it will follow suit. Okay. What's important about this, and you can see I can automatically drop in my length on the far left. All I have to do is type in my number, 80, enter. And what it does is it starts my second wall. Now, working clockwise, you see a miter in the corner. That is the interior of my room. If you draw backwards, counterclockwise, Houston, we got a problem, okay? Because what it's doing is now pushing our faces to the outside, and wall number 2 is calculating for the thickness of wall 1, okay? So just be cognizant of that, and that's why I show people this, okay? So I'm going to draw this wall, and down at the bottom here, I've got instructions in red. So I just hit my escape key. There you go. Now, one of the cool things about, now are you working on is this a desktop or a laptop?
Desktop.
Okay, cool. All right, so you got a decent monitor to look at, because one of the cool things about Moziak is once you have your walls drawn, check this out. Up here, third icon down, 3D. And what this is actually 3D live. You can witness all of your changes live. I love this thing because this is the way I work. I've worked like this for years. So if you're running dual monitors or anything like that, you can literally, this is really awesome. Okay. So if it's okay, I'm going to leave it open for a minute. Okay. So now we have our room. In a room tab, we've got islands, T-walls, windows. Now, you do commercial work. Do you ever have to notch cabinets around columns and stuff?
Sometimes, yep.
All right. Let me show you something really cool. T-walls, what's really trick about these things is I can come in here and say the width is 6 inches by 6 inches. Okay. And I can put that T-wall on there, and we can automatically notch around these things. Really, really cool. Okay. So I'll show you how that works. Now, windows, if you're running windows, adding windows, that Moziak will recognize there's a window there, so you can center on windows, sinks. And then what you have is, again, we're still working in the room tabs. So these are speed tabs. So one of the things you also have in here is you have your plumbing. You can add a stub out, and then you also have outlets. So if you're running electrical outlets, you can drop all your outlets in here prior to. Okay. And there you go. Okay. And so from here, yes, sir. Do you have a question?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So we get into our products, and based off of our settings tab, we are pulling up the frameless library. And like I said, your construction methods are library specific. So what I can do is I can start populating this thing. Now you have an option down here of autofill. Commercial work, autofill. If you do custom sizes, you can predetermine, you can say the whole room, you can say a wall, different spaces. So if I wanted to come in here and say, okay, my largest cabinet is, 36 inches. Now you can do library cabinets. You can see it's going to populate. And again, there's your question mark. And again, autofill, it's just a simple library fill space pre-designed product. So, and then custom will fill space with custom cabinet sizes built to manufacturing specs. So there's a couple of different ways you can skin this cat. I'm not a big fan of it. But when you just click OK, you can see it just populated that out with 36-inch cabinets or whatever would fit in there. And you can see what we have is we have 25. But one of the things is it didn't put any fillers in my corners, right? So these are overlapping each other. Okay. So if you're going to do that, you can do that with Moziak. And what I would recommend is build out that corner with your fillers first. So dropping in a 3-inch filler. And all I'm doing is dragging from the image. Now you can drag from the image, or you can drag from the actual down here. I'm just a creature of habit. But again, you can see I'm dropping filler here, wall filler here, slam that into that. So now I've built that out. Okay. And now when I go to my autofill, and again, we'll look at custom library and say, okay, our max size is going to be 36, and click OK. And you can see now that corner's built out. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool? So, it kind of makes it quick and nasty. But if we wanted to add cabinets, you can always just grab a cabinet and fill this. Okay. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you is, see, I've got my T-wall over here. Check this out. I'm going to come over here in wall 1. I'm going to come over here, and on the far right, 5th icon down, brings up my elevation. Okay. This. Okay. So you ready? So I'm going to highlight my wall, my T-wall, right? Right mouse click. And it automatically notches those cabinets for you. Check this out.
Wow,
How sick is that?
that's cool.
Yeah. And it even did your base cabinet too. So it even, you know, and I opened it up in wire so you can see that we also have our adjustable shelf in there that's been tweaked out. Yeah. So that's how that works. Okay. So from here, I'm going to close this out and we'll get back into our plan view. So, okay. So from here, again, if you want to autofill, I just did that for training purposes, you know, again, and, you know, I'm not a big fan of it because it kind of just turns everything into, I don't know if you do this, but the cool thing about this also is check this out. I need to be, let's say I need to be 3 inches off of this wall. I can pull this cabinet back. Okay, real important. But now I have a 30-inch cabinet and then all these different sizes. What I can do is I can take and grab a box, put it on one of these cabinets, right mouse click, and nope, well, let me do that. Hang on real quick. There you go. No, it won't let me do that. Why won't it let me do that? Okay, it won't let me do that. So I'm going to test something here real quick. There you go. So what I did is I put my spacer here, put a temporary filler here, then I can delete that out. So now I got all the same sizes. Okay. So yeah, again, it's just one of those things with Moziak. It just all depends on how you want to build it out. Again, pulling cabinets from your library, it's just drag and drop. Okay. All right. So let's get into modifying cabinets in Moziak. In Moziak, there's a 3-tiered system. Okay. Anything you do at the library level is a global change. So when you look at your products and we look at the frameless library, what we have is we can literally take a cabinet and modify it permanently at the library level. And then that way, when you pull it, so if you have custom cabinets that you want to save a certain way in your library, this is where you do it. And that way, when you pull it from the library, it's already modified. Okay. So if there are certain applications that you have to do on a certain cabinet, you can always do that at the library level. Okay. Now, and that's a global change. That way, when you pull that cabinet, it's already modified, so you only have to do it once. Okay. Now, secondly, is if we want to modify the job, so we've applied a construction method, but we want to affect all the cabinets. So what we're able to do is now edit the job parameters. And what this does is it opens up the construction method that we applied to this job, and now we can manipulate it on a per customer basis. Okay. So let's say, just for training purposes, all these categories is what builds our construction method. So I'm going to come in here and say, okay, well, our standard toe kick height is 4, but this customer needs 8. Okay. What this does is, all I'm doing is when I click OK, all I'm doing is manipulating this construction method that we applied to this job for this customer. That's it. Okay. So when I click on the screen, we now have 8-inch toe kicks all throughout. And this is wall 1. Click on wall 1. So you can see we have 8-inch toe kicks all throughout. Okay. So that's when we want to manipulate the construction method on a per customer basis. Okay. And affect all the cabinets. Now, the other way, the third way to modify is if we want to bring a cabinet. Let's say, for example, I'm going to grab this cabinet. I'm going to edit this thing here. You have an edit button here, but you can also right mouse click on it. And you can see you've got all these different features. But when we're going to edit, we're going to bring it into the cabinet editor. And every single one of these tabs has its own documentation. Okay. So when we click on the size, hit the question mark, it'll tell you there's 4 pages of information just dealing with the sizing. I mean, that's how crazy this is. The same thing with your information. hit your question mark. And you can see we've got another 5 pages of information. Okay. So yeah, that's how this works. And it's really, really handy. Okay. Instead of searching for videos and stuff like that, it's on the fly right here for you. Okay?
Yeah.
Pretty cool, huh? So I'm just going to override.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it makes it so user friendly. It really does. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to change the door style for a visual confirmation. So I put these ugly doors on this one cabinet in my job. And there you go. So that's the 3-tiered system. Modifying cabinets at the library level is a global change. You want to save them in there permanently. Modifying the construction method to affect all the cabinets in this job. And then thirdly is the individual cabinet, and that's it. Okay. Now let's build a construction method. And the way we do this, we edit the job parameters. And what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to manipulate. We're going to use this as a template, and we're going to go through all the categories. And when we're done, we're going to change the name of this and then save it as a new construction method. That's how this works. Okay. So let's do this. And this is really cool. So we start with our doors, and all you have to do is highlight. So if you have a standard, all you do is highlight top drawer height and hit this question mark. It'll tell you exactly. So do you have a standard drawer face?
Well,
Normally like
5.5.
Is it 5.5?
5.5 is good. Yeah, it depends.
Well, think of it this way. This construction method is going to be, let's say it's just your baseline. So you can always manipulate it. And like I said, this is going to be your core construction method. You can always manipulate it on a per customer basis by applying the construction method and then manipulating and just saying, okay, so what would be like 5, 5.5, 6?
5 and drawer fronts are 5.5.
Okay, perfect. There you go, 5.5. Okay, and then when you have a pair of doors, you run an 1/8-inch gap in between.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then when we get into our top of our base cabinet, clear your countertops. What do you normally reduce this down by?
1/4 inch.
1/4 inch, perfect. Well, what about the wall cabinet top?
They're usually flush
Okay.
at the top and bottom.
Okay, top and bottom is flush, so there. So base bottom's flush also?
Yes.
Okay. Now what we have is our side reveal has been set up at 1/8 of an inch, and then what we have is our adjacent cabinet set up at 1/16. So when 2 cabinets are touching each other, Moziak will readjust the size of those doors to accommodate that. Okay, does that sound about right, Bill? Or do you just, because when you have two cabinets side by side.
When two go together, yeah, I have an 1/8 inch there, so we'll have a 16th on each cabinet.
There you go. There it is. It's done for you. Now, when you have an adjacent filler, do you normally just keep it at 1/8 of an inch, or do you do that at a 16th?
It's still 16th.
Okay.
Like any cabinet is then a filler gets added, but I would still have the.
Okay, and the same thing if you did like if you did a finished end, the end runs of a cabinet job, you would finish this out at a 1/16 of an inch here, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I was looking for.
It pretty much stays the same everywhere. I want it all. I have the same reveals.
Right.
Overlay on my doors and drawers, regardless.
Okay. So like let's see, an unfinished end, side reveal, adjacent filler. So yeah, I'm going to validate this. One of the things is as we build this, I can always test it. Click OK, click on the screen, and we can actually zoom in on this stuff. And that's what's cool about Moziak is we got some right here, zoom selection. So I can literally come in and grab myself a little box right here. And you can see we've got a 1/4 inch here, and you want to zoom in any tighter, then we have tools here to measure. So again, Moziak's very accurate. So you can see here, we've got an 1/8 of an inch here, but and this has got a finished end on it. The F right here, what that is you can see when we highlight that cabinet, you can see finished end right. You can change that. Okay? So yeah, so we just take a look at that and we make sure that we've got a filler over here. And what you can see is we've got an 1/8 of an inch here, 1/4 inch here, and a 1/16 here. And then when we look at adjacent cabinets, when we look at two cabinets side by side, you can see we've got a 1/16 here and a 1/16 here, and a 5.5 inch drawer head. How's that?
Good. Good.
Cool. All right, so let's continue. Edit the job parameters. So again, it's just these items that you just go through and you can apply them, check them out, make sure it's doing everything you want. Yeah, absolutely. Now the face, we're doing frameless cabinets, so the face frames are grayed out. Then we get into our ends. Now, when it comes to your ends of your cabinets, do you do separated toe kicks or do you do notched toe kicks?
I do both.
Okay, what's your
And,
predominant?
I do a cut. We cut the toe kick out, and then apply.
Like a notch?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and again, this construction method, you can always change it on the fly. What I'm looking to do is, 75% of what you normally do, we set that as your default, and then you can always manipulate it on a per customer basis. That's the idea behind
Right.
it. So,
and I'm still changing a lot. I've been doing this 40 years, and I still change.
Oh yeah.
Well,
that's the key. That's the key. I was in like I said, I had my own factory, but back before I did that, I had a career in the furniture industry, and I did 15 years working for an $80 million a year company. So I came from mass production, and then I started my own custom shop because after 15 years of making little squares out of big squares, I never wanted to make two things the same. Yeah. So, but again, it's just selecting how you want this to turn out. Absolutely. And again, it's just highlighting these things and hitting that question. Okay. It'll tell you exactly what it is. Okay? And this is how you build a construction method. So we'll set this up. Yes, sir.
So that's cool. So I can change that. I can, if I'm doing it one way, I have one way I bring it up, or you can have like different ways of building.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can have, you can, like you said, you can have as many construction methods as you want, but you can also just come in and apply that construction method and say, okay, well, this customer wants separated toe kicks. You come in here and just turn it off. It's that quick. Yes and no. That fast. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. Now your interior, based off of everything here, adjustable shelf length minus. This is for your shelf pins. You normally reduce this down by what, 1/8, 1/16? What do you normally reduce this down by?
I cut the shelf a 1/16 smaller than the opening.
Okay, perfect. And then what about the depth? When it comes to your depths, do you reduce them down or do you flush them to the face of the cabinet?
No, usually a 1/4 inch back.
1/4 inch back, perfect. Okay.
So.
All right. And everything else looks good here. Now your mid stretchers between your doors and drawer fronts by default, those are 4 inches wide. Is that good?
We usually do them 5 inches deep. I mean, yeah.
Yep. Hey, yeah, you're gonna yield like crazy. That's why I would tell people. People try to get stingy, and it's like, you know what? Give it to the customer. It's gonna end up in the dumpster anyways. You're yielding, and you'll see when you start yielding out. It's like, yeah, when I'm talking about 80% of my sheets are in the mid 90s yield. I'm gonna give the customer, because it makes a better product.
So. Well, I screw my stretchers right now.
Oh, yep, absolutely. Now, cool thing about Moziak is now we can get into pre-drilling off your CNC of that. Yeah, we'll get into that. All right. So your standard toe height, what do you normally do? What's your standard here?
3 inches deep by 4 inches tall.
4 high, 3 back. Perfect. 4 high, 3 back. And then when you assemble your cabinets, when you do it, the structural part, you put it between these, right? And then toe skin the room after the fact. Most of the time they're doing rubberized. So but you put your toe kick in.
Well, right now we're doing, mostly it's the one on the right.
On the right?
That
Okay.
I do. And a lot of times, I mean, a lot of mine have been laminated, that we would laminate the cabinet, but I'm trying to go to where it would be like it is on the right, but
Okay.
going to have rubber base a lot of times, or if not, I'm even thinking using a skin it like the 1/4 inch or something over.
Right. You're right. I'm skinning that room out. Yeah. Well, the reason I point that out is because you're going to get into a CNC. And if you do it between, what you have the ability to do is you can actually dado your parts, your toe kicks in if you want to. So it's dadoing that front toe kick in. So you can do qualifying tenons. So doing it between your sides down the road, yeah, absolutely. Okay. And
I'm
then
always open to change.
Oh yeah,
I'm
well,
always
yeah,
open to change. To anything. I always look what's easiest. What's the quickest and easiest?
right. It's down and
So
dirty. Well, and that's the one thing when I train people, I've been in the industry a long time, and when it boils down to, it's just a box. You wouldn't believe.
yeah,
I train internationally. You wouldn't believe some of the funny stuff that I see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, but again, these are options. I'm just showing you what's available. Okay. And you're not running a back toe. Okay, so when it comes to your tops, when it comes to your base cabinets, are you running full tops or are you running stretchers?
stretchers.
Okay, and you would do those by 5 inch also?
5, yes.
Perfect. Okay, now this is where we get into our nailers. The width of your nailer. What do you normally do for your nailer width?
3 inches.
3 inches. Okay, perfect. And those are broken down. You can do base, wall, and tall, different widths. And then what you have is the bottom nailer. You running nailers on all your cabinets, top and bottom?
All cabinets, it's mostly like the one there on the all cabinets, the one at the top and bottom.
And then
Now the upper cabinets, usually we put like a French cleat on the top. It's got a 45-degree angle on it to hang it.
right.
Right now, for the majority, I mean, I add my nailers over the 1/4 inch.
Okay, so
The
you're
only
doing
time I
a
ever,
you're doing a plant on back. Right, you're doing a plant on back and then putting the nailers on top of those, right?
right,
Gotcha. Okay,
and
so let
then
me
the
do
only,
this. Okay, so that way I can understand because your backs, what you're actually doing is a plant on back and that nailer is going on the outside of the cabinet, correct?
right,
So we're going to give that a 0 value. And what these are your joints. The joinery is just telling you got options here. And what it is if you look at back to unfinished end, an unfinished end is right here. And all it is a plant on just means it overlaps the part. So since you're doing a plant on back, and we'll take a look at this real quick. And the best way to show you this is just to bring it into 3D, apply it and put it into 3D. So I'm going to apply a plant on back. Click OK. Click on the screen. And now this cabinet right here, right mouse click, and bring it into our 3D viewer. Okay. So we're going to look at it in a filled view. And our nailers are on the inside. So what I need to do is push them to the outside, those nailers, the French cleat. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit the job parameters. And we're just going to push it to the outside. So I'm going to say here, 0.75. Click OK. Click on the screen, bring this one right back into 3D and do a filled view. Does that look like what you do?
yes, that's
And
it.
we can also validate a base cabinet. Does that look like what you do?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we continue. Okay. So down the road, especially with a CNC getting in and there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. especially like if you're doing dados, you can do qualified tenons. There's all kinds of crazy stuff in here that you're doing. But now when it comes to your cabinet body right now, are you butt joining everything together? You're not dadoing your
Yes.
cabinet. Okay.
No, no, I'm not there on butt joint.
Perfect. Now here's the cool thing. In Moziak fasteners, we have all of these fasteners already built into Moziak. Okay. So if you want to pre-drill for assembly screws, you can pre-drill right off your CNC. That way you don't have to do pre-drilling. Really powerful. And all you're doing is telling Moziak, and what we have is called conformat. It's just a 5mm hole. But check this out, is on all your unfinished ends, when we bring this one into 3D, you can see you now have holes for assembly. Okay. So, and you can adjust these in the template because normally you're putting like 2 screws here, correct?
Right. That's why I use a 5-inch, because I have 5-inch stretcher and we go in 1 inch and 1 inch.
Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. I'll show you how to do that real quick because we are being recorded. So in your libraries, what you have in your hardware, okay, what we have is our fasteners, okay, joint templates. And what we're going to do is we're going to select that template, conformat. And what we're looking for is ends, the joint type, ends to stretchers, okay? So what we want to do is we got hole location 1, 0 from center. We're going to change that. We're going to say 1 from the front, and then hole number 2, we're going to turn that on, and we're going to say 1 inch from the rear. There you go. And now what we have is our rear stretcher. Same thing. What we can do is copy it from end to stretcher. Click OK, and it just replicated that. Check this out. Click OK, click OK. Bring this cabinet now into 3D.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's wicked what you can do with Moziak. And the wall cabinets only get 2 screws because 2 screws, these 2, there's a mathematical algorithm. Would you normally do 3 screws in your wall cabinets or just 2?
I would usually do 3.
Okay.
And you know, in a lot of it, I don't know, I guess in the construction method, usually on my uppers, I sandwich the sides in between the top and the bottom.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's what I needed to know. So let me do this. Let me change this real quick. And what we're going to do is in that conformat, what I'm going to do is we're going to look at the ends to, because we have our top, our bottom, and a fixed shelf. Because here, what we have is hole number, we've got 1 inch from the front for hole 1. Hole 2 is 1.5 inches from the rear. Okay. And then hole number 3, what you have is it's 0 from center, but these 2 screws, they're saying Moziak's saying, okay, these need to be farther than 20 inches apart. We can come in here and say they need to be 8 inches apart. Okay. Click OK, click OK. Bring it right back into 3D. And now we have 3 screws. But and you can see I did the top, so I'm going to do the bottom now. Okay. And because I'm going to hang on real quick. I know what we got to change some things in here because what you have is ends, hang on real quick, long bottoms. Okay. So long bottoms, what you're doing is you're doing this, correct? For your wall cabinet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what we need to do is we need to change that. So long bottoms on our wall cabinets, yes. And the same thing long on our top, yes. Okay. Click OK. Click on our screen. Bring it back into 3D.
Wow.
Does that look like
it? Yes.
Okay, so we just need to add holes. We just have to copy that 1 hole. We just need to match up our top so we get 3 screws.
Right.
So what we're gonna do is libraries, hardware, joint templates, conformat, and we're gonna select our ends to bottoms. And what we're gonna do is do the same thing. Hole number 3, we're gonna give it 8 inches here. Click OK. Click OK. Click on the screen. Right mouse click 3D. What do you think, boss?
That's awesome. Awesome.
Not too shabby, huh?
That's it.
Now, when it comes to your back, I picked up on, we're not drilling for the back. You just run staple.
No,
Okay.
we staple it.
All right. So what we want to do is we want to just turn those off. So we're going to go back into the hardware, go back into that joint template real quick, and we'll grab that conformat. And what we're going to do is, what we need to do is in our backs to top, those are turned off, back to bottom though. And what I'm looking for is right here. But what we want is ends to back. Ends to back, we just turn those off. Okay. Click OK, click OK, click on the screen, right back into 3D. And there you go, boss.
Awesome.
All right, good deal. Glad to hear. All right, so we got that squared away. Okay. Edit job parameters, and we got that all squared away. Now, you have options when it comes to your boring operations. And again, you have to decide how you want this to be done. But you have true 32 mil line boring, you have shotgun boring, you have series where you can separate the holes, and then you have the 1357 system where Moziak will only drill where there's adjustable shelves. Okay, so however you're going to do that. Okay, it's been broken down by wall, base, and tall. Okay, and then the locations of those. So on your CNC.
That's really cool. I mean,
yes, sir.
I mean, right now we do it a certain way. We just have a line bore machine, so we line bore the whole thing basically. And what I'd like to do just where the doors go, and then set the shelf holes separately back a little bit, and not be part of where the hinges go.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to show you what I used to do. I'll share it with you. And so, because in my wall cabinets, this was especially in commercial, what I used to do, you can either do a series of holes, like, so if you do every other, because your machine's going to have a multi-spindle block. So if you want to do a true 32 mil system, but I used to do shotgun boring in my wall cabinets because people are going to move shelves around and they want adjustability. Wall cabinets, you will get grief. So normally with my wall cabinets, all I did, base cabinets, I just drilled 5 holes. But wall cabinets, I shotgun bored because of that fact, okay? Or it's series, so every 64 millimeters, but since you're running, and I'll show you what I used to do. Okay, so what I did was I changed this, and what I did was I did shotgun bore. And then what I did was I came in here and I balanced the panel. Yes, set this at like 9, set this at like 18, and back set front edge, hole depth 39, 251, 251. Okay, all holes here. Okay, and I'll show you exactly what I used to do. Okay, so now this wall cabinet, when we take it into 3D, we can look at it from a side view and look at it in wire. So they're back set away from your hinges. So now they're intentionally set.
Right.
Again, and so
that's what I like to do.
Yeah, so that's just setting that up, and then you can see your base cabinet, same thing. You're only doing 5 holes, but they're recessed back from your
right.
Yeah, so that's how you do that. Okay, all right, cool. So let's finish up the construction method. So job parameters, and again, that's normally how I did that, just to save face. Okay, so from here you've got closets, frameless rails, and other. Other is basically, remember, edge band. Bring that into this construction method. So we just built a construction method. So what we can do now is you are Central Texas Millworks, right?
Right.
So we can come in here, Central Texas Millwork, frameless butt joint, save as. By changing the name, we just created a brand new construction method. So now when we go back to our settings tab, check this out. So this is where you apply your construction method, and now we've already got these used in the current room. We can now edit this, and here's the key. This button, this OK button right here, is just modifying the construction method for this customer. These two buttons down here are for you. So if you want to modify your construction method permanently, you resave it as, okay, and update it, and it'll warn you. Do you want to replace and update your construction method? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we have to do one more thing with your construction method, because what we want to do is we want to anchor this to this library. And the way you do this is at the library level, products, frameless library, we go into the parameters right here. Okay. Now you can see that the frameless butt joint has been anchored to this library. So what we want to do is we want to load your new construction method and anchor it to this library. And you'll see all these parameters change. There you go. So your new construction method. So the idea is if you ever modify your construction method, this is where you want to do it. Library, come into the frameless cabinets, into the parameters, make a modification, save it as, and then reload it, re-anchor it to the library. That way your construction method will always follow this library. There you go.
Cool.
So the big takeaway for me is this is why I spend so much time in here, because products and tops and moldings and all this nonsense, this is all design. This is the easy stuff. The big thing for me is understanding materials, material templates, and construction methods. You get this down, the rest of this stuff is simple. Okay. And that's it.
All right.
All right. So, and
What
again,
about,
yes, sir.
what about, say, doing shop drawings and showing, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Now we have a really powerful, so if you get into, you know, and we've got, have you seen your optimizer run, by the way?
No.
Okay. So we've got tops. So if you're adding countertops, now, do you normally supply tops or no?
Yes.
Okay. So in your top settings down here, okay, in your top settings, you can predetermine your heights and all that. And are you normally running backsplashes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
on laminate tops, we do.
yeah. Well, check this out. Auto build tops. 3D. There you go. Yep. So we'll do some drawings here in a second. Absolutely. Same thing with moldings. Now, order entry, this is if you run production. The cool thing about this is right off your CNC. If you look at your settings tab, order entry is completely different from your rooms. You can have as many rooms as you want. But order entry, what this is, what's really trick about this, and I'm just going to make it the same as mine. Okay. But right from your settings tab, you don't have to draw a single wall. You can go directly to order entry and check this out. I can literally grab a cabinet, drag it in here, and tell Moziak, hey, I need 12 of these, and they need to be 15 inches wide, finished ends none, and run them right to the CNC. That's the power of this. You can build an entire job just by populating this thing. Really, really powerful. Okay. So you have your pricing tab, and there's a video on version 9. We've got question marks here, your settings, if you want to set up your machine rates and things like that, another question mark. Just go through them. The same thing with your template editor. You've got another question mark here to build templates, real simple. Okay. Now, from here, cut list. Now, what we have is we've got all of our materials here. So we can come in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to optimize. And we're going to select all of our parts we want to go to the CNC. Okay, and now we can check your new construction method. Okay, so this opens up the optimizer. It's a separate piece of software, and we can see our materials here. So 3/4 millimeter parts, and you can see we've got 149 parts. Optimize. Ready? And there you go. Done.
Wow.
Now the flip parts, you see our doors, because what our doors are, I'm going to click on this. What you have is you have all your drilling operations, but what you have is your hinge holes. So if you wanted to cut your doors off it and run your hinges, view all patterns, And what you have to do is before you do this is you come in here and you can flip all your parts, because all you do is now when you flip your parts, let me see, we can actually just flip the sheet. I actually won't. Let me close this up and redo it. Moziak's funny about this stuff. So let me optimize this again. Select all, click OK. Select all, click OK. Let's rerun this. Because normally with flip parts, because when you look at those parts, when we look at that material, what we can do is right from here when we optimize, we're going to optimize it here. But the first thing I'm going to do, it won't let me do that. It's giving me grief.
What if like I really don't ever want to drill my cup hinges with the CNC?
Right.
Because we have a
Well,
drilling machine for hinges that we, drills and it presses the hinges in at the same time.
Right. So all you do is you just, and again, we're doing a melamine door, but you can see the hinges. What you can do is turn the hinges off, or you just don't flip it, because I flipped this door and you can see the operation is now here. So if you don't flip them, so flip part, and you can see that the hinge is on the back side now. So it's not going to drill for that. No. So,
okay.
Yeah. So all you do is if you're running all the same material, or you can just turn the drilling operations off in the hinge, but I prefer to see the hinge than not.
Right.
Because if you turn the hinge drilling operations on the door, we can do that. You can do that here, and I'll show you here real quick. Is in your libraries, when you go into your hardware, in your hinges, what you have is all of this information, but your drilling operations for your hinges right here. So if you want to come in here and you can see that these are all set up, what you can do is just set your diameters, and these are all just spec. But what you can do is you can set up your diameters for 0, okay? And it won't drill. It will not drill, okay? So we can turn them off here, just give it a 0 value. It's an 8 and 35. In this hinge, click OK. So I don't even have to take it back into let's go back into the job, because now I can look at my products, and even when I bring a cabinet into 3D and look at it in perspective, you can see I'm still drilling the side of the cabinet, but you can see that the hinge holes are now gone, which I'm not a fan of, just because if you need to go back in and move things around, you can do that. But to visually, like on a short cabinet or something like that, but yeah, you're no longer drilling for those. Yeah. But you can drill for your handles. You can drill for your handles also. That's really key. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so and that's and that's in the hardware in the hinges, or in the settings tab. When you look at, for example, this wire pull, libraries, hardware, and then when you look at your pulls, you can see that this wire pull, the holes are 4 inches on center. It's basically drilling a 5mm hole, the whole separation right here. So if you've got a 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch, whatever you're doing, and then you can locate where that is. So it's right now it's set up to drill the face side. Okay, so it's going to drill the face side. So when you lay this material down, it's just going to drill those 2 holes and then cut your door out. Okay, the hinges are still on the back side. Yeah, that's how that works. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so for printing purposes. Now for printing purposes, check this out. In your products, anytime you are in 3D, you have a couple of options here. Okay, really cool. So what we can do right from here, we can actually, right from here, we have the ability to print. You can print a hard copy, a JPEG here. But what we have up here is a sneaky little thing called, this is actually 3D Live. So I'm going to take this and save an image, close this out. And your printing options for your customers is File, Print, and we've got a ton of things. You can print the current view, you can print your job. You've got a whole bunch of different reports down here, but you can print your elevations, your floor plans. But what we do have is this: File, Print, Multi-Print. Okay, this is where you can create architectural drawings. You can print in your page setup. In your page setup, you can set up the title block. So you're putting your own company logo and things in here. But based on how you print, so if you're doing your printer setup, you do an 8.5 by 11, 11 by 17, whatever you're printing, okay? Which printer do you normally run here?
Well,
Okay. Well,
on this
again,
computer,
yeah,
the brother's the new one. The brother is, I guess
the 7500 or okay, so the brother right here. Okay.
it's the brother.
Okay. And what size paper are you running?
Right now it's got 8.5 by 11.
Okay, so 8.5
You know,
by 11. Because again, you can create these because your title block 8.5 by 11 because you can modify this and put your own company logo in here. Okay. But now what we can do is check this out. There's no faster way to do this. Over here on your far left, room tab, drag and drop. There's your plan view. Elevations, wall 1, wall 2. You can bring in front views and you can even drill down and bring in, for example, a left view. And we can even drill down. I'm going to zoom in on this. Right mouse click on it and I can look inside. So I can come into the drawing settings and say, well, I want to look inside this cabinet, let's say 12 inches. We're now looking at the inside of the cabinets. So you have that option. Okay. Now, let me reset the view. Now,
so you
here's
can
the,
fit multiple elevations. I mean, for whatever
absolutely,
would fit.
absolutely. There's, all over the place. Here's wall 2. Wall 2 is right here. And then you've got wall 1, you've got room 1, wall 2, wall 1. Yeah, absolutely. Bringing in that wall 1. So yeah, you can bring in whatever you want. You can move these things around, shuffle this stuff around. Yeah, absolutely. Oops.
What about as far as fitting any kind of like, say what section or what view it is? Well, you got room one, but you know how on architects they have like the plan view and they got all your different numbers for different floor plans, and you got your elevation, then you got your section view.
You have to
Yeah,
create the, yeah, you can, yeah, drilling down and then you can add text to it, all these kinds of things in here. Absolutely.
right.
And we even have our, all of our layers here. So when we're looking at architectural symbols, then you also have, because you have disclaimers. So if you want to sign off on there, you can actually add a sign off, things like that. And you can even watermark. But here's the other one is you can actually bring in a room legend, which is really nice because you can drop a room legend in and you're telling your customer exactly what they're getting. Doors, there's your hardware. Yeah. There's your materials. Yeah. Now, the other thing is going back into, let's button this up and go back to our drawings because you have this right here. So if you want to do a landing page, on one page, your front page and do something nice for your customers. There you go. So there's a lot of movement in here. There's a lot of things. Now, the cool thing about this is actually 3D live. What's really cool about this is I'm going to save this thing, close out, and I'm not kidding you. I can come in here and literally, it's crazy. You can come in here, delete this out, come in here and drop a double oven just for file, print, multi-print. So not only did it update the 3D, but check this out. It updated your elevation and your plan view automatically. How cool is that?
That is crazy.
Isn't that nuts? Yeah. So yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff you can do with Moziak. Yes, sir. Okay. So
I mean, I've been doing shop drawings by hand on a drawing table.
Yep.
And it takes me forever to do a job. So
Well, you can see with just me monkeying around with this, for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I did this in 3 minutes, and again, it just makes life so much easier because once you have your layout and the customer changes things, it'll automatically update these pages for you. You can have multiple pages. You can have as many pages as you want. You can even change the view of these things because what you have is your printer. I'll show you the one. I swear to God, we have an employee. These are actual different templates that you can apply because you can adjust right here. You can configure the layers. So what you can do is you can configure whatever you want to see on here. So you can drill down. So let's say it's pre-contract. It's pre-contract. We can literally come in here and create a template, turn off all of our labels, and then come into our dimensions, turn all of our dimensions off, turn our floor plans dimensions off. Everything's turned off. And you can create as many of these templates as you want. So I can save this template and I can come in here and say, well, I've got my original architectural, but I can create a new template and say it's pre-contract, no dimensions, or just, create new and say, create new one. And we say, no dimensions. Click OK. Template no dimensions has been saved. There you go. So now I can literally jump from template to template. So here's the one that kills me. We've got an employee that needs to be drug tested. My goodness. That's just psychedelic. Yeah, that's crazy. But you can have them. You can have as many templates as you want. Absolutely. Okay. So that is Moziak 101, my friend. Outside of that, the only thing I got left to show you is in your help tab. What we have is I recommend you log into the help desk. If you haven't been in there yet, all you do is put in your email address, say you forgot your password, submit your email address, and they'll get you in there because the help desk has got it's got a knowledge base.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I've been in it.
All right, perfect. Emailing the job to the help desk. This is a free service, my man. I'm going to send this in for the recording. And the cool thing about this is we have a team of people that do nothing but answer emails, a good team of people that do nothing but answer emails all day long. There you go. And just so they know it's coming from me, I just remove that and send it. So yeah, wherever you're at in Moziak, we get a copy of your construction method, the actual job. So if you run into, hey, cabinet 8's doing something funky, how do I fix it? They'll send you a response. And again, it's right here, help, email the job to the help desk. So wherever you're at in Moziak, you can send it in and say, hey, I've got something funky going on. I need to set eyes on it. Okay. All right, my man.
Crazy.
Well, good stuff, huh?
That's awesome.
Good.
That's awesome.
And it takes a little while. And, the cool thing about Moziak also is the fact that we don't have a service contract. You pay month to month, but if you need additional training, you just pay for it by the hour. That's all it is.
Right.
There you go.
Well, that's what's really great. I mean, I bought Microville and had to buy it, and and never really got to use it because it was. And even I went to training on it. I spent days on training. And I just learned more in an hour and a half on this, and I learned some days.
Yep.
Over there, how to do stuff.
Yeah, I've used quite a few pieces of software that'll make you an old man real quick. It's so convoluted. This is the cool thing about Moziak is if you just go from left to right, it's just awesome. So yeah. All right, my man. Well, Stephen, it's been a pleasure. I've got my next training starting here in a few minutes, but it's been a pleasure, my friend.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right.
Looking forward, excited about it for sure.
Hey,
to learn this.
Yeah, and definitely just to reach out to us. We have to earn your business every month, so we're here for you. Okay.
All right. So they're going to email me the recording then.
Yeah. As soon as go to meeting, because it's a big video file. So as soon as it's available, they will email you a link and you can download it. Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime, my friends.
And,
Good talking with you.
all right, man. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.